The subjugation of Parley is just the beginning of our invasion. There are 5 droid control programs down on Naboo with our initial landing force. One of the droid control programs has been stolen by the pitiful Naboo. Without it, a subset of our formidable battle droids stand motionless on the battlefield. We will retrieve it at all costs. This is Viceroy Newt Gunray to UM-9.
Roger, roger.
UM-14 has allowed the Naboo to make off with a precious droid control program. We are jamming the communications. But we must retrieve the program from the stronghold of Hard Secure. We have deployed a technician with a special task force to reacquire the droid control program. You must protect the technician at all costs.
UM-9 present. UM-9 online. UM-9 online. UM-9 present. UM-9 here. What is your on my way? What is your command? UM-9 prepared. UM-9 here. Please input your orders. UM-9 here. UM-9 here. UM-9 here. UM-9 prepared. UM-9 prepared. UM-9 present. UM-9 present. Roger, roger. What is your command? Online. What is your command? UM-9 here. UM-9 present. UM-9 present. UM-9 what is your command? UM-9 prepared. 9 here. Wolf 9 online. Please input your orders. Wolf 9 here. Wolf 9 online. Yes. Present. Wolf 9 present. Wolf 9 prepared. Wolf 9 prepared. Wolf 9 online. Wolf 9 prepared. Wolf 9 prepared. Wolf 9 prepared. Blaster drawn. Please input your orders. Unit online. Unit 9 prepared. What is your command? Droid control program enabled.
Now, return the program to your command center.
Transport captain reporting in. Transport captain reporting in.
Thank you.
Your army is online. Destroy Heart
Battle
Secure.
droid ready. Drop your weapon. Roger, roger. Diagnostic check, okay. Your red. Boot it up. Boot it up.
Wu-Tang Flight right.
Online in void orders. Boot it up. Battle droid ready. In void orders.
Scanning.
Geared up. Geared up.
Missile primed.
Roger, roger. Boot it up.
Missile primed.
Geared up. Online. Boot it up. Roger, 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 roger.
Open.
Battle droid ready. Battle droid ready. Stop. Stop. Roger, roger. Geared up.
Missile droid ready.
Online. Geared up. Diagnostic check online. Battle droid
Scanning.
ready. Roger, roger. Input orders.
Right, right. Easy kill.
Roger, roger. Geared up. Online.
Missile primed.
Battle droid ready. You're online. Roger,
Power
Roger.
pack charged.
Input orders. Geared up. Input Android ready. Android ready. Freeze. Roger, Roger. Underway. Input geared up. Blaster is armed. Blaster is armed. Diagnostic again. Input order geared up. Online input orders. Input online. Input orders. Battle droid ready, Roger. Geared up. Stage chariot. Battle droid online. Highway X again. Roger, roger. Geared up online. Booted up again. Giant body again. Booted up. Battle droid ready for drop your defense online up for engine. Booted up. Battle droid armed. Battle droid ready. Battle armed. Booted up online. Roger, roger. Blaster drawn. Thank you. On my way. They did it. They had it. Input orders. They had it. Blaster is armed. Geared online. Geared up. Do not move. Booted up. Stop or I'll shoot. Geared up. Blaster is armed. Online it up. Boom 9 here. Battle droid ready. Freeze online. Do not move. Roger, roger. Do not move. Roger, roger. Do not move. Diagnostic check, okay. Diagnostic check, okay. Geared up. Aim at it. Battle droid ready. Stop or I'll shoot. Diagnostic check, okay.
Prepared. Please input your orders. What is your command? Boom 9 here.
Boot it up.
Boom 9 here.
Online.
Please input your orders. What is your command?
Input orders. Booted up. Diagnostics check, okay. Battle droid ready. Battle droid ready. Input order. Diagnostic check, okay. Boot it up. Input orders. Online. Online. Geared up. Online.
Boom 9 online.
Here, diagnostics check. Okay, diagnostics check. Okay.
9, prepare.
Battle droid ready.
What is your command?
Battle droid
What
ready.
is your command? Spread Roger, Roger. Yes, yes. Prepare.
Input
What is
order.
your command? Right.
Gears online. Online. Bring up your laptop. Input orders.
Input your order. Online. We get input your order.
Roger.
9 online.
Battle droid ready.
What is your command?
Diagnostic online. Battle droid ready.
What is your command?
Roger, roger.
9 here.
Move it up. Gears up. Battle droid ready. Input order 7. Online. Input order.
What is your command?
Move
Command
it up.
secure is neutralized.
Gears up.
Wonderful!
What
You
is your
have
command?
performed beyond your parameters. You are needed for the invasion of Spinnaker.
Citizen Binks.
Awaiting your orders.
I stand ready.
Lord Sidious, we have retrieved the droid control program and struck a mortal blow to the Naboo.
Noodle, look at it. Noodle, look at it. Ya lupa. Ya.